other side, I was wondering to hear a little bit more about the problem of evil. Because the way you define evil is sort of emergence of people or ideologies who want to kill you just because of who you are. The problem is that we know that evil exists then, according to that definition. The Nazis, for example, were evil according to that definition. The Hutu Interahamwe in 1994 in Rwanda had an ideology of evil according to that definition. That is, an ideology that said, we want to kill you because of who you are. So, I guess the question is, do you envision just wars to prevent the destruction caused by evil? Perhaps World War II was some version of a just war. And if so, how do we recognize a just war or evil in that sense when we see?
I would say, first of all, I would make a little bit of a distinction between evil, the definition of evil as people who want to kill you for who you are, because of who you are, which certainly fits Hitler and a number of other international leaders too. And people who want to kill you because they like to kill, or people who want to, because it's in their nature to want to kill. As soon as people say they want to kill you for who you are, that implies an ideology. And in the case of Hitler, we know very well what his ideology was. I'm very sensitive to that myself, since if he had won that war, I'd be a lampshade. But anyway, with that qualification, yes, there's evil in the world. Yes, there are just wars, in my view. Or at least partly just wars. And here I think we have to make another distinction. And that is to say, a war to stop Hitler, and not just Hitler, but Germany, which was the second most important economic power in the world, second to the U.S., from promoting its fascist ideology, making its fascist ideology worldwide, which it had the intention and perhaps the capability of doing, seems to me to have been a just war. But then you immediately have to say, but the war was not fought by the United States merely to prevent Hitler from making fascism the new world system. It was also fought to make America the great world empire. At first unconsciously, semi-consciously, as time went on, more and more consciously. So that, do I think that the Battle of the Bulge was a just bulge, that D-Day was a good thing to do, that, and so forth? Absolutely. Despite the terrible cost, the terrible human cost. Because to lose it would have been worse. Do I think that it was a good thing in that war for the United States to take over Middle Eastern oil supplies from the British? To take over the French position in Indochina? To oust the Dutch from Indonesia so that the U.S. could then conduct what was later a virtually genocidal campaign against the Indonesian communists? And so on? No. It was mixed, strongly mixed motive. Stopping Hitler, but also promoting the United States to be the new superpower. And so when that war ended and the United States was not alone as the new superpower, the Soviet Union was a competitor, the Cold War had to start, in a sense. The Cold War was then inevitable. And you could make the same analysis. Was it a good thing to stop Stalinism with its slave labor and all to becoming an international system? Yeah, sure. Was it a good thing to stop people all over the third world from having independent nationalist movements because somebody's going to label them communist? No. Ultimately, I think what this means, is that just wars can't be fought by nations with their own power agenda. When we can, there will come a time maybe when we can talk about a really just war And I think that may be a time when the international community has a legitimate representative to fight. Okay, but I don't take the position in my book that there are no such things as just wars. I think they are, but they're very rare. And so the main quarrel in the book is with people that think all our wars are just because there are wars. So I just come back from a long evening driving my head off to get to the Prince William County Board of Supervisors meeting where they are considering a new project called the National Wartime Museum, which has been cooked up by Virginia conservatives with the support of some millionaires. And the National Wartime Museum in Manassas, right near Dale City, will be this quite enormous place where kids get to play on tanks, and there's movies of heroic American troops doing things, and there's a mock-up of trenches, and two big areas are designated Iraq and Afghanistan, where there'll be a mock-up. And so I appeared at the meeting of the board at the request of some Prince William County citizens to say, listen, I have no problem with your memorializing the sacrifices that people make in war. That's serious business, and, you know. But people also make sacrifices for peace. So why not have a war and peace museum? And one in which you actually allow there to be discussion about which wars were just and which wars weren't, and sort of like the Holocaust Museum, which is a place to memorialize the Holocaust, obviously, but it's also a place where you get to talk about why it happened and how you can stop it from happening again. Or the Vietnam War Memorial, which is a place where peace groups and veterans groups meet and talk about, and talk about things. And so have a museum like that, and not just a, hooray for war museum. So thank you very much, Professor. Now let's vote. So that didn't work. That little intervention, too little and too late. It didn't work. But that to try to get into, to try to help our countrymen and women think about these issues like human beings, with some doubt, with some skepticism, with love of country, but questioning how we best express that love of country, seems to me to be a worthwhile enterprise. And it's a lot of business for all of us who are interested in that.